Good day to all of you. I am AC and I welcome you to this sixth lecture in the video series where we are discussing different aspects of rhetoric, specifically the different figures of speech present in your syllabus. In the previous lecture, we were discussing the figure of speech of metaphor. We discussed how we can define a metaphor, how it is constructed, what are the different parts of a metaphor, namely the tenor and the vehicle. And we also started discussing how we construct a metaphor in order to understand how we can analyze the construction of metaphor. And the first style of metaphoric construction that we discussed was that of a metaphor where both the tenor and the vehicle are nouns. Today we'll start our discussion by taking a look at another form of metaphoric construction where a metaphor is expressed through the use of a verb. The thing with such kind of metaphors is that we'll find the tenor to be present in the examples, but we will find the vehicle to be absent there. And the reader or the audience will only be able to understand the vehicle through the use of a verb which is generally associated with the object or the vehicle. Let us try to understand the format through the help of an example. She drank in admiration. Now in this statement, we can see that the tenor is admiration, the admiration of a woman. However, the object or the thing or the idea with which this admiration is compared is not literally present in the statement. Instead of that, we have a verb drank. Now, by using our imagination and our understanding of English language and vocabulary, we can understand that the verb drank has a connection with the object wine. So here, the tenor admiration has been compared with the vehicle wine. But instead of the vehicle itself being present in the statement, in the example, we have a verb associated with the vehicle taking its position, alluding to it, suggesting the actual vehicle. In some other cases, a metaphor can be expressed through the use of an adjective. For example, when we say a golden opportunity, here opportunity is a tenor, and this noun opportunity has been qualified by the use of the adjective golden. Now we all know that opportunity is an abstract concept, so literally it cannot be golden or made of gold, but this is a metaphoric comparison where the comparison is between opportunity, which is the tenor, and gold, which is the vehicle. But instead of the vehicle gold itself being present in the example, we have an adjective golden, which is suggesting to the actual vehicle gold, with the metaphor trying to express that both gold and opportunity are valuable, or opportunity is as valuable as gold. Then in some other cases, the metaphor may contain one of the two things being compared, with the absence of the second element being substituted by the presence of the point of comparison between them. Let us take a look at an example statement. She rescued him from the depths of despair. Obviously, here despair is the tenor. It is the subject of the comparison. However, the object with which it is being compared, the vehicle, is not mentioned in the statement. However, we have the word depths, and the reader, by employing their imagination, can understand that the vehicle proper is sea. In this metaphor, one's despair is being compared to the sea, especially its quality of depth. So, depth here is the point of comparison which is present in the statement and is suggesting the vehicle. Now, there are a few things, a few rules that one must keep in mind when dealing with the use of metaphors. The first is that the metaphors should not be far-fetched, nor should they delve too much into technicalities or details. They should not be drawn from very obscure or unknown sources, as then they would fail in their purpose, which is to impart an aesthetic quality to an idea. A metaphor should not be too improbable. They should have the appearance of being very natural. The reader or the audience should feel that though a metaphoric statement or expression is not literally true, it makes sense in a poetic or aesthetic manner. When this rule is violated and the point of similarity in a metaphor is very far-fetched, it gives rise to an anomaly called a strained metaphor. A very popular example of strained metaphor is one from William Shakespeare's Macbeth, and the line reads, "Here lay Duncan, his silver skin laced with his golden blood." Now, in this statement, the tenor or the subject of comparison is King Duncan's blood. However, it is very difficult to imagine any similarity between splattered blood on Duncan's skin and golden lace, a kind of patterned decorative fabric. A second rule that we should keep in mind is that metaphors drawn from different sources should not be used together when one is dealing with the same subject. Now, when one deviates from this rule and two or more metaphors of different kinds are used when dealing with the same subject, we get an instance of a mixed metaphor. Let us look as an example at another line from William Shakespeare, this time from his play Hamlet. The line reads, "To take arms against a sea of troubles." In this statement, the tenor or the subject of comparison is troubles. Here we have two instances of metaphoric construction dealing with the same subject or the tenor, troubles. The first is that the idea of confronting one's troubles is compared with going to a war or a battle. Through the use of the metaphor, take arms against. One usually uses arms or weapons in a battle, right? So this is one instance of metaphor. But again, we have another instance of metaphors, as troubles have been compared to a sea in order to express how enormous man's troubles are. On their own, both these metaphors seem fine. However, when both of these metaphors are used in the same statement, trying to make a comparison with the tenor, troubles, we have a problem here, because one does not take arms or uses weapons against a sea. So the metaphoric image on its entirety, which suggests taking arms, using weapons against a sea of troubles, becomes to some extent an absurd image. In some cases of metaphors, a single metaphor can be sustained or prolonged through a long sentence or a number of lines. where different sets of tenors and vehicles are used to explore and develop on the central idea presented by the initial metaphoric construction of the first tenor and the vehicle. Such usages are called extended metaphors or sustained metaphors. These lines from Shakespeare's As You Like It is an example of a sustained metaphor. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. You can try to find the primary tenor and the vehicle and the different sets of secondary tenors and vehicles present in the quoted section. Finally, in the English language, there are metaphors which are called dead metaphors. They are called dead metaphors because they fail to do their primary job, which is to impart an aesthetic quality into the use of language in order to make it more persuasive. Sometimes metaphoric expressions become very commonplace through overuse, and the reader or the listener no longer consciously thinks about the metaphoric comparison being made. Some examples of dead metaphors are a ray of hope, the fire of passion, the leg of a table, to cite a few. Look at these examples and try to think of how these metaphors are constructed, what are the tenors and the vehicles, and how through overuse they have become so common that we do not think of them as proper metaphors, as they have lost their ability to capture our attention or to impart aesthetic quality. So this is where we will end today's discussion. In the following lectures, we'll continue with the rest of the figures of speech that we have in our syllabus.